There are only a few MMOs that can boast that their story is the main draw of their player base. Elder Scrolls Online beat that boring MMO story trope by taking the already rich and developed lore of the Elder Scrolls series and putting it into a massive multiplayer online world. A luxury that many new MMOs don't have. But I mean, I've played WoW for so many years, which is proof that I'm obviously brain dead enough that a story isn't a massive indicator that a game will be fun, but it is a positive. Now, for these reviews, I usually break the game into 4 separate areas of what keeps a game interesting to me. So, the story, the combat, the PvP, and the loot. Coming after one of the most revered games of all time, Elder Scrolls Online had pretty big shoes to fill, and luckily the game has a really good story. It takes a lot for me to finish the storyline in an MMO, but this game managed to keep me well invested with its characters and world building and narrative, although I'd have to say that the Morrowind and Somerset expansions are pretty much the peak of the game for me though. Now, coming from World of Warcraft, my expectations have been lowered to the point where Pong Online would entertain me, to be honest, but Elder Scrolls Online did prove to me that even an MMO can have a pretty good story that's really engaging. The game ditches the common tab targeting mechanics that a lot of games use for a system that's more familiar to the longtime fans of the Elder Scrolls series, and it was a good move. Almost. The story is exciting, and playing in a big group with spells going off everywhere is really cool, yet, and this might be a gripe that only bothers a few players like me, the game doesn't have a full skill bar, which makes sense considering the game was created with consoles in mind, but having to switch bars and choosing from such a small bar of spells felt limiting to me. But then again, the first thing I do when I make a new character in World of Warcraft is immediately activate every bar possible. The combat also feels weirdly floaty and doesn't really hit as hard or feel very satisfying in PvP. Compared to Skyrim or Oblivion, I'd say the combat's kind of a setback, but it is still fun and it complements the story well. The PvP or battlegrounds in this game was a miss for me, and it suffers from the floatiness that I mentioned earlier. It's not really that satisfying. Getting into fights, weirdly enough, doesn't feel as engaging as it does in PvE. PvP ultimately is what keeps me around in MMOs, and although I was enticed by the story and determined to finish it, I found myself not having much to do after I did finish it. The PvP did make me miss the fast and fluid combat of games like Guild Wars 2 and the PvP battleground sessions of World of Warcraft. Unfortunately, another miss for me. People who have seen my videos in the past know that I'm a little slut for a game with a good loot and customization. The armor in this game is as floaty as the combat, however, there is plenty of armor pieces to unlock. The game does have some cool armor pieces here and there to keep players looking individualized, but I found myself wearing it for a really long time because most of the armor pieces that I unlocked felt kind of uninspired and looked a bit weird on the models. Maybe I've just been spoiled by years of gear that World of Warcraft has built up for its players. Elder Scrolls Online has some misses, but when it hits right. It's a fun game, and if PvP isn't really your way of enjoying an MMO, then I'd 100% recommend that you check out Elder Scrolls Online if you haven't already. Plus the consistent support from the developers with updates and expansions, you won't be running out of things to do anytime soon. Also, comment down below. I want to know if Elder Scrolls Online has been your home game for the past couple years. Plus, make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and to keep up to date on future videos.